Today, we continue our gem study and we'll be talking about the gem with, in my humble opinion, the best bops in the series. We're talking about the crystal gem and fusion known as Garnet. Today we're talking the sum of her parts, her, and their personalities, and what all these gems are said to mean in real life to see if they could have any influence on shaping and creating the character. What's up, y'all? I'm Kris Carr, and today I'm talking to you about Garnet from Steven Universe. Before we talk about this badass that's voiced by Estelle, I want to give a quick shout out to our donors on Patreon, especially Super Nerd sponsor of the day, John Carmack. Thanks to you, Gems, we get to keep the lights on. Check out our page to see if a donation tier works for you. We'll thank you with cool rewards. And speaking of cool stuff, we've got an affiliate link in the description that you can click to grab some awesome swag from TeePublic. If you want some sweet Steven Universe merch, or wear other fandoms literally on your sleeve, check it out. On to Garnet! When Rose Quartz gave up her physical form to give birth to Steven, Garnet became the de facto leader of the Crystal Gems. At the start of Steven Universe, Garnet acts aloof and rarely speaks out. As the series progresses, we see her open up and become much more relatable.
Pearl, look at Garnet.
Garnet is brave and strong, both physically and emotionally, and shows great affection for her fellow gems. Which makes sense, as Garnet is the product of love. We'll get to that in a moment. From the ruby and sapphire gems that reside in her hands, Garnet is able to summon 2 powered gauntlets for combat. Her future vision allows her to view possible outcomes for future events, a lot like Doctor Strange running all those endgame scenarios. She's able to share this power temporarily with Steven by kissing him. We learn as the series goes on that Garnet is actually a fusion of 2 gems, ruby and sapphire. These gems made the choice to stay fused because of how deeply they loved one another. Their fusion is the personification of romantic love. Prior to meeting, and consequently fusing, Ruby was a foot soldier, one of the many rubies who would be assigned various tasks, such as serving as muscle or bodyguards for notable gems.
Now please wait here. I must attend to my duties.
Right, yes.
Ruby, on her own, is rather emotional and hot-headed, but also courageous and physically powerful. Sapphire, on the other hand, literally on Garnet's other hand, is much more calm, cool, and collected. It's probably easier to relax a bit when you can see the future, an ability that Sapphires possess in the series.
Can you use your future powers to predict what channel I'd love the most?
43, but there's not much on.
Sapphire is the source of Garnet's wisdom, precognition abilities, and, more than likely, her chill attitude. These two coming together has been hailed as one of the best representations of a healthy, queer relationship in children's television. The relationship has been tested, and sometimes the two have separated, but these trials only led to them reevaluating whether or not they should continue their relationship as a single unit. In the episode The Question, Ruby takes time to hang out with Greg and shove pizza in her face and be independent. She realizes that she likes being free to process things on her own as an independent entity. And then she's a cowboy for a second, but through all of that, Ruby realizes that being apart has its moments, but it's more fun to share those experiences with the people you love, and knowing that you can go off on your own and come home to somebody with open arms.
This way we could be together even when we're apart. This time, being Garnet will be our decision.
This is a wonderful thing to depict, you guys! You don't have to stay the course. You can and should check in with your partner and make sure you're both still happy if you want to make any changes, especially if you're considering getting married like these two end up doing. Now, other critics have called out this healthy portrayal, believing this dynamic is actually incredibly unhealthy, unstable, and all-consuming, since Ruby and Sapphire are controlled by their relationship and act as one entity. Now, like I mentioned, I personally feel that The Question and subsequent Reunited episodes address this issue very well, and I don't have any qualms with the relationship. Definitely let me know what you guys think about it, though.
What I mean is, you changed my life. And then I changed your life. And now we change our lives.
On Homeworld, Garnet's initial accidental fusion was viewed as an abomination. 2 different gems were absolutely not to merge with one another. Initially, this makes Sapphire and Ruby feel like they shouldn't be together in this manner. After all, society is staunchly against it. However, as we learn in the episode The Answer, Ruby and Sapphire like how they feel when they're together. And, thanks to Rose Quartz's acceptance, they learn that being true to themselves and their love for one another is ultimately the most important thing. They don't need permission to be a fusion, and fusing doesn't affect anyone else. We talked previously about Peridot, and through her, we learn more about the oppression a gem such as Garnet would have faced back on Homeworld. Peridot couldn't wrap her head around choosing to be a fusion that didn't serve a, quote, functional purpose. She even tries to fuse with Garnet in order to better understand her, but ends up feeling unsure of doing so, and backs out of the fusion.
The fusion Garnet. I had hoped to gain a better understanding of fusion. Instead, I gained a better understanding of Garnet.
Garnet never pressures her or judges Peridot, but rather acknowledges what a big step it is that Peridot is making in an effort to better understand her. Garnet, and fusions in general, are representative of the trust and consent that goes into a relationship, romantic or otherwise.
Tell Garnet it was you.
I don't understand.
I'm sorry. It's just so much fun.
While the show itself has never shied away from LGBTQ themes, the series has suffered from censorship outside of the US. Many countries have altered romantic interactions between Ruby and Sapphire, believing they're inappropriate for children's programming. An example of this is when in 2016, the Swedish translation of the episode Hit the Diamond replaced some flirtatious dialogue between the two gems with something more neutral. This caused quite the stir, with Swedish fans demanding Cartoon Network Sweden cease all censorship of the relationship.
Now what you want to do is lead with your hips. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Obviously, this relationship dynamic, whether you're for it or against it, is instrumental to understanding the character Garnet. Don't be like the Deke dub of Sailor Moon and tell me Ruby and Sapphire are cousins or something. Just give audiences the intended rendition of the series. It's bonkers to me that we'd censor that sort of thing in this day and age, but hey, that's just me. Let's move on to these real-life gemstones and their properties. Now, scientifically speaking, rubies and sapphires are one and the same. They're both made of alumina and oxygen, and really they just differ in color thanks to the inclusion of other elements.
Garnet, are you okay?
Did you want the red cable or the blue cable?
It doesn't matter. They're the same.
Sapphire has been used since the Middle Ages for medical and spiritual healing. It's said that faith and purity come to those who wear the stone, and that the gem can give the wearer foresight into the future. So that definitely is where we could be getting Sapphire's precog powers from in the show. Italian superstition says that sapphires can ward off eye problems and melancholy, which is exactly why my Nana got this bad boy. Not really, she wanted a replica of Princess Diana's rings. The stone is associated with those born in September, covering Virgo and Libra astrological signs. Virgos, as I mentioned before in my Peridot video, are detail-oriented, uptight, and type A. They're also supposed to be pure. So again, we have that concept of purity and ladylike qualities, like noble of the Diamond Court, Sapphire. Libras are said to be peaceful, just, and hate being alone. So that sounds about right for the show. The Libra is all about balance, fairness, and equality, and is in constant pursuit of justice. Rubies supposedly bring harmony to whoever wears them, and that those who possess rubies will also possess peaceful lives. Ancient Hindus believed that rubies were endowed with sacred powers. The ruby is associated with those born in July, which means it's the birthstone of both Cancers and Leos. Cancers are supposedly tenacious, loyal, and sympathetic, but can also be moody, aloof, and insecure. Leos, on the other hand, are brash, confident, and also tend to be loyal. Their presence is said to light up a room. They also tend to be natural leaders, which brings us right back to Garnet.
The Earth needs you, Steven. We'll be fine. You can do this. We believe in you.
Ruby and Sapphire deciding to stay fused gives them the ability to be durable and strong, like the actual gemstone. Garnet stones are heavily associated with bravery and strength, both of which Garnet herself possesses and more. The stone is said to symbolize physical love and the relationship between loving partners, making Garnet a popular ornamental adornment among royalty and aristocrats.
You are an experience. Make sure you're a good experience.
If you're into the healing properties of crystals, that school of thought believes that the gem can activate and strengthen survival instincts, stimulate past life recall, and sharpen the perception of oneself. It supposedly aids in removing inhibitions and taboos, opening the heart and bestowing self-confidence. Garnet is also the birthstone associated with those that fall under the Aquarius astrological sign. If you're into astrology, Aquarians are out to make the world a better place, putting their energy into aiding or correcting social institutions. They're rebels. A scientific note on Garnet that I particularly enjoy is that due to the composition of the gem, Garnet is relatively resistant to alteration. It really can't be anything but itself, even through manipulation. Garnet sand is used industrially as an abrasive, often replacing silica in sandblasting. Mixing with high water pressure, Garnet can even be used to cut steel. Makes sense for a straightforward and powerful fusion, right?
Garnet, this is a little intense for a warm-up. Maybe we could try a light volley?
This is light.
Of course, I'm just scratching the surface of this gem. Let me know what you think is super important for viewers to know about Garnet. Again, a big ol' thank you to everyone donating on Patreon, buying teas from our store, and everyone else doing what they can to help our little channel out. For more videos, click to the left of my face, or you can check us out on Roku or Plex. Thanks for watching. See you, Space Cowboy.